Good evening, everyone. How the devil are you? I should say good morning or good afternoon or good whatever time of day it is, wherever you're at. Yes, indeed. I'll tell you what time it is here. It is beer o'clock. Excuse me. So, how are we all doing? By the way, in case anyone's noticed, something weird has gone on in the chat on YouTube. I've got the full chat here on StreamYard. But something decidedly odd happened. I set the stream up about 3 o'clock after I'd walked the dog, and Rent to Kill was first in. He was in before I'd even kind of finished setting up the stream. So well done, mate. But all of that first kind of hour or so of the live chat has seems to have disappeared. I don't know what's happened. So let's go and have a little bit of a catch up. As I say, I've got the full thing here in StreamYard. So as I said, Rent to Kill was first in. Then we had Anton, Steve Hale, Peter Nicholson, Relaxing Meditation, PFY Guitars. There's Robster Boy. What's up? I know, the Rent. But indeed. Then we've got Terry Day, Edwin Toon, and Johnny Random is in. So is Stephen Hedger, Rob Bald, Peter Collins, Dave Fiendish is there. And scrolling down, I see we've got, Dr. Gomez 1 and Michael Palmer asking, where did summer go? Frankly, it's I've had enough of summer for this year. I'm just realising I'm looking a little bit bleached out as I lean forward. Yes, I should change my profile picture to Uncle Fester, shouldn't I? But anyway, I've had quite enough of summer. I'm not built for the heat, it has to be said. Then we've got Ian Clark, who's on his way to the Big Smoke, so may have to watch on catch-up. Well, if you're watching on catch-up, Ian, and anyone else who's watching on catch-up, thank you for watching. Every view counts. Then we've got Peter Borthwick and Phil B and Sean House. There's theme tunes. Who is, what are you debating between there, mate? Coffee Stout or Hobgoblin Ruby? What am I talking about? I'm going to have both, aren't I? Well, why not? It is Friday after all, mate. Then I see we've got Cylon Hybrid, John Ross, Johnny H is in, so is Phil, and Peter Nicholson. I thought so. Did I say you already, mate? Maybe I did. There's Ian Stewart. Paul Trainer is in, and so is Joe McMurray, David Evans, Cal B and the Rocco Cat, Ben Allmark is in, and Reeled in 58. He was just eating burger and chips, and now we're having a cup of coffee. Might have to crack open a can of cider before this is over, but I'm waking up and working in the morning. One doesn't usually do it for me. Well, I'm working every morning, mate, but I still manage to, indulge. By the way, if anybody's interested, can't get hold of Heineken at the moment. It was substituted on the grocery order yet again this week, I'm afraid, Edwin, because you always ask, don't you? So I'm on the Kronenberg. It's when they start substituting Heineken with, I don't know, Foster's or something. That's when you reject it and send it back, isn't it? Then who else have we got? We've got Frank Bolam, we've got Deco Dude, we've got Calby and the Rocco Cat. Amadeus is in, so's Carl Tom. How are you, mate? Lawrence Hastings is in, and let's have a look. Maria Davies is in, so is Peter S. And we've got Pablo Hank and 60s Man. Colm Cross is in, so is James Hunt. Let's have a look. Colin Falcon's there. Michael Belliveau and Adam San. Martin, is it Scholes or Scholes? I'll say both, then one of them is going to be right, isn't it? Nancy Davis is there, and the aforementioned Mr. Toon and Edwin is in. There you go. We've got Dave Lewis and Gordo Canuck, and Bill Mumbo is there. Steve Cassidy Guitar, how are you, mate? Nice to see you in. There's Mark Greening, and scrolling down, we've got John Mack, and John Channing is there. Malcolm Spillett is in, and anyone else? Bringing up the rear, we've got Ian Mason, Steelhorse 75, Don Carter, Jamal 123, Vincent Brennan, Michael Purcell is there, so is George Wall. Sargi is in. And yes, Dave Lewis have started giving heat waves names now. Well, I take that one stage further. You know, when it's kind of raining and there's a puddle, I always call it Puddle Rupert, or I don't know, kind of Drizzle Michael or something like that, because it's just. I mean, there is an entire class of people, aren't there? Somebody is probably paid, probably I would guess out of my taxes, a huge amount of money in an annual salary to think up these names. And where would we be without their vital service? I see we've got Alex D. Ball, greetings from Cyprus. We've got Ravensmead, Nick Shaw, and there's Deco Dude is back. Now are you, mate? And I think that's pretty much everybody. 140 watching at the moment, which is always nice. I always like to kind of. I was having a chat with one of the compadres there in the in the chat there, Mr. Cassidy, earlier on this week, and he was very complimentary about the community that gather on these little Friday soirees, and he was being very complimentary about the community I've built up here. I haven't done anything. It's just you chaps are the community. You are the heart and soul of this channel, really. Dear oh dear no, let's put you up on screen there. Thank you, Edwin. Dear oh dear no, Heineken. Well, as long as you lubricate your vocal cords. P.S. mention a Harley Benton Blondie for 200 quid. Yes, I was very, very tempted by that one. Toman, in case you've been living on Mars for the past week, Toman have got a sale on at the moment, 25th anniversary sale for the Harley Benton brand. And there is a guitar that if you kind of half shut your eyes, it looks a lot like Blondie. Let's get this out of the way. This guitar for, I think it was £189. And I've got to tell you, I was sorely tempted. I really was. But past experience has taught me that if you have two guitars which are, to all intents and purposes, very, very similar, you end up playing one and just ignoring the other. It just becomes the poor relation. Years of having a pair of Strat style guitars, you always gravitate towards one rather than the other, and then that makes the other one sort of surplus to requirements. And the thing I was like really scared of is what happens if the original Blondie ends up being the one that kind of languishes on the stand. That wouldn't be a good look, would it? Plus, I am saving up. I'm squirreling a little bit of money away each month, or trying to anyway, to get my hands on an Eastman. I've decided that's I'm locked on now. I keep saying I'm cured of gear acquisition syndrome, but the Eastman, the pull of the Eastman SB59 is a strong one, and it's just I'm damn curious, really, and I want to see if they are as good as pretty much everybody says that they are. So I'm going to end up getting one. There's a few floating around on eBay at the moment. And if there's one in particular that if it's been there a while and the seller is open to offers, and if it's there in a couple of months, which it's been there a couple of months already, I might have enough kind of in the Eastman fund to be, within offering kind of range of it, shall we say. Rob Ball is saying, what did Colin post today, as in guitaristas? I've been too busy working. He posted a comparison there. Let's just turn that light down a little bit. He posted a comparison between an Epiphone Sheraton, an Epiphone 335 and an Epiphone 339, and like a three-way comparison. And, and it turns out that he ended up liking the 335 more than he thought he was going to be. So there you go. Time Prophet is saying, is that the Dirty Harry Eastman? I think that one went over my head a little bit there, mate. I'm not sure. No, it's the It's the Eastman SB59, the Les Paul one, basically. Excuse me if I'm a little bit slow tonight. How do you get chat to pick up someone's name in another app? I start to type with the and that's when I've been using chat on YouTube. That's always the way. That's always the way that it's worked for me. I don't know why it isn't working. Although as I said earlier, there have been strange shenanigans in the chat today. Like I said, half of it just seems to have disappeared on the YouTube platform. I'm obviously looking at it from the other side here. I'm on StreamYard, as you can see by the little logo in. Where is it? In that corner of the screen up there. And it's all present and correct here. So, Eastwood. Thank you, Steve Cassidy Guitar. What are you saying there, Dave Lewis? The 15-can boxes of those lagers on special offer at Tesco's online for £12. Okay, you mean the Heineken? Yeah, I mean they were. I don't know if they were on offer or whatever, but they were certainly showing on the Asda website. But it was just you get the email when the grocery van's turning up on the morning saying these are your substitutions. Your order is on the way, and as I say, the Heineken was substituted for the Kronenberg, which I don't mind. It's a nice drop, the Kronenberg, actually. But it's to be honest with you, it's lager, and if it's cold enough, all lager tastes basically the same. And so the only thing you're kind of weighing up really is price and alcohol content. Really, those are the two governing factors when I'm shopping for lager. Anyway, I need to tell you what's coming up on the channel this week. I almost forgot, got distracted. So, Sunday's video is, it started off basically as a video that, do you remember a little while ago, gosh, maybe a month or two back, I did a comparison between me Telecaster and me Les Paul, because of that sort of old adage that a Telecaster sounds like, or a Les Paul sounds like a Telecaster on steroids. And I decided to put them side by side, and well, they didn't sound similar at all, really. But I said back then that if you wanted me to make the video where I'm comparing the Telecaster to, there it is in the corner there, the Sire L7, which is a brighter sounding version of a Les Paul, then I would make that video. The response when I put that idea out was overwhelmingly positive, so I decided to do that video. And as usual, I put a little piece of music together, and I don't know if I'm sure you've all had this. When you come up with a piece of music and it starts off as a rough idea, and you start putting it together, and it starts taking shape, and then as you're kind of getting further into it, you're thinking, yeah, this is really good. Even though I say so myself, this is something a bit special. So I think the title of Sunday's video is this might be the best thing I've played in ages, in a long time, or something like that, because I genuinely think it is. It's just for the winds were all in the right direction on the day I recorded that video, and the piece of music just turned out absolutely stonkingly good, I think. So I'm not usually one to sing, to blow my own trumpet in that regard, but I am quite proud of that piece of music I did for that video, and that is on Sunday. Then on Monday, here's a little bit of a teaser for you. It's the solo from the song that allowed me to discover Bob Seger, but it's not from a Bob Seger record. It's from probably the most famous cover of a Bob Seger song, where there is a little announcement at the beginning of the song that it's a Bob Seger song. I wonder if you know what that one is. All of the gentlemen of a certain vintage will know what that song is, and know which band it's from, and know which album it comes on. There we go. There's Derek Clacton straight out of the traps there with the right answer. Rosalie. Yep. This is one we're going to try and get you moving on. This one, a number recorded by Bob Seger, a number called Rosalie, then slamming into that riff. It's just one of those goosebump moments, you know. It's just such a simple little riff as well, and simple little song, but it works brilliantly. But that was the song that, you know, I was aware of the name Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band. But in another video that's coming up in a few weeks' time, when I talk about how I discovered all of the kind of music I'm into these days, when I was at college and, you know, kind of raiding other people's music collections, you know, leafing through their vinyl, as it were, when you're living in the halls of residence. Oh, what's this? I'll put this on. Yeah, that was, you know, a big part of it. So that was when I discovered Bob Seger, and someone had a Bob Seger album with Night Moves on. It was either that album or a best of, and that kind of led me into it. So that is Monday's video, a little solo analysis from the Thin Lizzy version of Rosalie. And talking about musical education and new musical discoveries, that's what I'm talking about on Tuesday, in the Top 5 Tuesday slot. You know, it's often said that once a chap gets to a certain age, and I was that age, and now I'm well beyond that age. You know, it's you kind of retreat into your comfort zone musically. You stop discovering new artists, or maybe not new artists, but bands and artists that you kind of overlooked in the past. Well, you know, I've stumbled across some great newish bands, and well, not all of them are new, but some of them have been around a while, but you know, I haven't really kind of paid much attention to them. But I'm discovering new music. I'm in a particularly fertile patch for that at the moment. So on Tuesday, I'm going to run you down my some of the new-ish acts and bands and artists and singers and guitar players that I've discovered in recent times. Then Wednesday's video is, as always, a viewer's question video. Can you believe we're nearly a year into these viewers' questions at the moment? You know, and I've got a stack to get through as well. So, but you know, feel free to send your suggestions in if you have any questions of a guitar or music related nature, and you think I'm the chap to answer them. Then you know what to do. Just drop me an email, jrguitartuition@gmail.com. Leave a comment below, not in the chat because I'll probably miss it, but you know, leave a comment below any of my videos, or just use the contact form on my website, johnrobsonmusic.co.uk, and just send your question in, and it'll get turned into a video in all probability. But yeah, had a couple of requests to do a video on just sort of routine guitar cleaning, how to keep your guitar in tip-top order, you know, just to kind of keep it nicely ticking over and stop it. And you know, if you do have any grunge on it and how and gunk on it, how to get rid of it, what's the best way? Well, on Wednesday, I'm not going to say you're going to find out the best way of doing it, but you're going to find out how I do it at least. And then on Thursday, we're back to the acoustic again. I've made something of a life-changing discovery. You know, I discovered that just recording the acoustic through this mic here does sound better than even the Fishman preamp that's in the Harley Benton Dreadnought, which is a bit of a kind. I was thinking, well, okay, that, you know, why did I spend money on a guitar that's got a Fishman on it? Well, anyway, but it does sound better recorded with this mic. The problem is that no matter what I do, I cannot get Reaper to see this mic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to record the guitar to a click track into Audacity, and then export the WAV file from there, then import that into Reaper, and it's just a bit of a faff around. But I've discovered a fantastic way of getting around that, and that is what I'll be talking about on Thursday, to get a good mic'd up acoustic sound without having to go through that kind of faff around, basically. So, excuse me. Let's have a look, see what's been going on in the chat. How's the lovely Dougal? Yeah, Dougal is well, he's asleep at the moment, and never has there been a truer word said than when you let sleeping dogs lie. He's fine. He's mischievous, but he's starting to calm down a bit. He's a personality, put it that way. Northern Thrifter is, have you ever listened to Blur, John? I was a guitar teacher throughout the 90s. Not only have I listened to Blur, I've, kind of taught many people their songs. Park Life was just that one song that every student was bringing into the lesson at some point. I've got to tell you, if you force me to choose between Blur and Oasis, because I think that might be where you're going, then I don't know. I just like Oasis just that little bit better. Excuse me. What else we got? I agree with you there, Michael. Night Moves and Running Against the Wind, two absolute classics from a much underrated musician. Yeah, he's you can either think of people who are underrated as being underrated, or you can think of them as, you've got to be in the know. You've got to be, he's ours. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it makes you feel just that little bit more exclusive. If you are a fan of somebody that the hoi polloi aren't that familiar with. See a big debate going on here about whether Blur were any good or not. I didn't mind them, but it's to me it's like arguing about whether raspberry jam is better than marmalade, or whether marmalade is better than strawberry jam. It's how do you quantify these things in terms of record sales? I think not. It's everybody has their own likes and dislikes. Human beings are incredibly prone to get very tribal about things, aren't they? You see that certainly when I was at school, music was a very, very tribal thing. You were either a mod or you were a rocker. Guess which side of that fence I was on. You were either listening to Judas Priest and Rainbow, or you were listening to The Jam, and no competition really, is it? Time Prophet, you're getting your bands mixed up there, mate. It was Pulp who did Common People, wasn't it? I thought so anyway. Graham Campbell. Oh, now there's a band, Supergrass. Yeah, I can't even remember the name of the song, but right, that was it, wasn't it? They were, I can only remember that one hit of theirs, to be honest with you, but I did quite like it at the time. It was just good, honest, unpretentious pop, and there's nothing wrong with that. And Deco Dude is saying, how many songs can you remember? I seem to forget them if I don't keep playing them. There are certain ones that are in regular rotation that I can remember. Certain ones that I give out as exercises to students. So any student of mine that is a chap of a certain vintage and is struggling with bar chords will usually get Starman by David Bowie or Bowie. So I know that one down pretty well, and I could, well, I don't know. I've never counted up how many songs I know, and it would be a bit of a dull live stream if I was to pick up a guitar and put it to the test, I think. Cast, now they were good, says Anton. Yes, Yeah. And who was that other band that I thought were destined for big things around about that sort of 90s Brit rock time? Dodgy. I thought they were pretty good. But, you know, so many of these bands you just kind of completely forget about. What the Hoople is saying, I must have been a mocker back in the day then, John. I was listening to Judas Priest, Rainbow and The Jam. Yes, indeed. Well, I was always secretly a bit of a fan of The Jam. I think that it's impossible not to tap your foot when Town Called Malice comes on, isn't it? You know, and Going Underground, there's another great song. But it was it's all about deciding which tribe which kids in the schoolyard you're going to hang out with, and you know, and I ended up gravitating towards the ones with leather jackets and long hair, you know, which I had at one point, believe it or not. If you've got an arrow to fire it, you use a bow, not a buoy. Well, fair enough. Fair enough, mate. Let's have a look. Vincent Brennan is asking, have you covered anything by Tom Verlaine? I haven't, actually. I haven't. It's that's a name I'd completely forgotten about, you know. Marquee Moon, television and all that kind of guff. I think I probably had that at one point, nestled away in my vinyl. But it's every time the format changes, do you find that some albums that that you don't necessarily listen to a lot and forget about, like when we went from vinyl to CD, and then from CD to MP3, and then from MP3 to streaming, which is what the way I use Spotify all the time now. I don't, because it's just so convenient and easy, and I don't feel any the poorer for not owning a physical copy of the music. That's just, you know, that either bothers you or it doesn't, and for me it just doesn't. But you know, there's always, when you move from one platform to another, there's always some album that you forget about and slips through the cracks. And for me, that going back to Spotify, that is one of the joys of Spotify, is that you know, those albums just kind of get thrown up as suggestions. I'd forgotten about that. That's brilliant, you know. And it's like a nice little kind of surprise to kind of rediscover music that you know, that kind of slipped off the edge of your radar, basically. Let's have a look. Yes, Time Prophet. Rob Halford from Judas Priest ended up with the same hairstyle as you. Yeah, but he's covered with tattoos now, isn't he, up top? Jay Aoyong is saying, who's Tom Verlaine? He was basically the main man in a band called Television. Get it? Tom Verlaine, TV, television, TV. Anyway. Bit of an acquired taste, it has to be said, but you know, great band, I thought at the time. You know, once I'd kind of got into them, and Amadeus, Eastman versus Gibson, have an SB56 in gold put away. Nice one, mate. Good for you. Well, you know, Gibson have their detractors, it has to be said, and, you know, deservedly so, because, you know, they don't, you know, you can get a much better fit and finish on a much cheaper guitar, it's fair to say. But when I bought my Gibson, here it is, I went into that with my eyes open. I knew there would probably be a cosmetic flaw, and there is one. There's just a slight little lip on the edge of the fretboard here, where it meets the timbre of the neck. It doesn't affect the structural integrity of the guitar. It doesn't affect the playability, but it's something that in an ideal world you wouldn't expect to get on a guitar that costs £999, which is what this guitar cost me. But here's the thing, you're buying a Gibson, you know, and you kind of price that in. And, you know, at the time I bought that Gibson Les Paul, I had a very, very, very good Harley Benton SC552, a great Les Paul copy that in many ways has a higher spec than that guitar because it's got stainless steel frets. But the thing is, I'd had a good year and I wanted to give myself a little bit of a trophy, a little bit of a pat on the back. So I got myself the Les Paul. And I got to tell you, I've really bonded with it. It's one of the big three now. It's one of the three main guitars that I use: Blondie, PRS, Gibson. And, you know, so if I was in a position where I could try an Eastman and go to a shop and give it a good checking out and see what it feels like and make my mind up, then only under those circumstances, if I really like the Eastman, would I consider parting with the Gibson. But I've been in this situation before where when I got my first PRS back in, about 2004-ish, I sold my first Gordon Smith to get that PRS because it was a PRS and I was excited. I'm going to get the PRS, you know, and I regretted selling it. So I just don't want to go into that sort of situation again. So what I'm going to do is I'm saving up to get myself the Eastman, and you know, then there will come a decision about which one stays or goes. So it's, you know, it is just, I'll know when I try, basically. What's that? Delius and the BSP3 saying the Gibson has the stage on. Yeah, it is a great guitar. For all of its kind of one cosmetic blemish, it is a great guitar. And a certain chap who's probably in the chat this evening has very kindly sent me some burst bookers to put in it, which I haven't done yet because I'm out of guitar strings, completely cleaned out. I don't have my fault, my oversight. I've run myself out of strings, so I can't take the strings off that and you know, do the pickup swap because I don't have any strings to put back in. And there's been a little bit of a mishap with my order at Strings Direct. They screwed it up, so a week after I've ordered the strings haven't arrived yet, but they've made good on it, and customer service has been, in the end, very, very satisfactory. So the strings are on their way. So there'll be a before and after between the 490 R&T that are in that guitar and the burst bookers that are still languishing in their box here. You know, we shall see. But yes, it all does sort of reflect on the fact that I am much more of a kind of Les Paul single cut kind of guy than ever I thought possible. You know, I've had single cut. I mean, it's something I've talked about in videos in the past. You know, I always get like a single cut style guitar and love it to death for a couple of months, and then the novelty wears off, and then it's just not something I find myself picking up and playing, because I always gravitate back towards in the old days a Strat of some kind or a Telecaster. But you know, it's one thing that's put me off. You know, taking advantage of this this Harley Benton discount thing that's going on at the moment. It's like, well, yeah, I don't need a new bass. Not really into jazz masters or offsets. Don't want a baritone guitar. Those Moss Wright copies, I think not, because they look too much like Moss Wrights. You know, a Moss Wright guitar is a guitar that was It's like you described a Strat to somebody who'd never seen one, and then they built a Strat in the dark with the feet while they were drunk. It's just an ugly. No, I'm not interested in one of those. The Blondie copy, as I want to call it, the Fusion T. I'm scared to get one of those in case I like it more than Blondie, and if I don't, then I've just bought a guitar I'm not going to use. And you know, the other options are all kind of Strat style guitars, which I'm just not into at all at the moment. And I never ever thought I would say that I was, you know, not interested in Strats, because for many decades the Strat style guitar was for me just the pinnacle of electric guitar design. Steve Cassidy saying, excellent Moss Wright description. Yeah, I thought it was just me that thought they were the kind of guitars that only a mother can love. Where can we get the Spitfire shirt from? Mr. Amazon's Fine Emporium. That's where I got this one. You know, and I normally wear, well, I try and make a point of wearing the sticker flake in it t-shirt at the moment, but that's in the wash today. I put it on yesterday, and then you know, because I usually get a couple of days out of a t-shirt. I'm a bloke, as you do. But then, well, let's just say Dougal. An incident with Dougal, and yeah, and then it had to go back in the wash again. So. What we're saying there, Adam, let's put you up on screen. It's fair to say something like a Gibson Les Paul Standard is more of an investment regarding depreciation over cheaper guitars. What's your opinion? That is the received wisdom, but the chap who buys and sells more guitars than probably many guitar shops, Colin from Guitaristas, has debunked that myth many times. He says, I always lose money when I sell guitars. You know, occasionally if you buy the right model from the right year and hang on to it for long enough, then, you know, it will kind of, you know, go up in value. But it's, you know, and it's slightly better odds than buying a lottery ticket, I suppose. But it's buying, you cannot think, well, I'm going to buy this guitar and, you know, sit on it and, well, not sit on it, but hang on to it. And at some point it's going to give me a return on investment, because chances are it probably won't. You know, it's that and that's been my experience as well. You know, it's the market is a funny thing, because it's subject to fashion, and it's subject to economic circumstances. You know, if people can all agree that a guitar is worth X amount, but if nobody's willing to pay that for it, then because, you know, everybody's feeling the pinch a little bit worldwide, then, you know, it ain't going to be worth that much. It's worth what people will pay for it. And, you know, given the current financial climate, Michael Purcell, again, where did you get the Baldy t-shirt? The t-shirt I was wearing last week. Again, Amazon. You know, it's I'll just, because I've got the Amazon app on my phone. I've got Amazon Prime. Next day delivery. It's just too tempting sometimes, isn't it? I mean, we can get into the whole, you know, kind of ethics of Amazon and their relationship with the taxman and all of that, but you know, that's above my pay grade, frankly. You know, I'm 56 years old, and I just want a quiet, enjoyable life where I get on and play the guitar and don't have to worry about too. And, you know, I'm not going to import things to worry about, basically, is the story there. You know, just let me pick up a guitar and earn a crust from playing it. That's all I want to do. Everything else can be that, you know, the thing that people kind of argue about on Twitter, which thankfully I'm not on. Steve Cassidy guitar. Any Prime Day purchases, John? I got loads of strings. Yeah, well, I had to order some strings on Prime because the Strings Direct ones didn't turn up, and then got notification today. Delivery date has been changed, so even the Amazon Prime strings aren't going to turn up. So anyway. Let's see what else we've got to talk about. James Hunt is saying, are all the Harley Benton guitars on sale at the moment? I'm not sure about all of them, but they have got discounts across a wide range. Just go on the Toman website, and there's a big banner at the top of the website, where it's 25% off because it's the 25th anniversary, and the sale is lasting for 25 days. Sean House is saying, have you an update on Skinny Blondie? Not at the moment, mate, but watch this space. Ron Wells is saying, didn't the Ventures play Moss Rights? They sold a few million records. They indeed did. And check the heart. It's on 25 products. Basically, the Harley Benton sale. Yeah, the Ventures played Moss Wright guitars, and I don't think they played Moss Wright. I mean, the one song that of the Ventures is obviously "Walk Don't Run," isn't it? But I think they played that. I think they recorded that on Fender guitars, and then it was a big hit. And then Moss Wright said, "Come over to us, and we'll give you some guitars." Either way, I'm not saying they're bad guitars because I've never played one, because I've never been inclined to play one because they just look so damned ugly. And yeah, I am that shallow. If I don't like the look of a guitar, then it makes me not want to pick it up. If it's uglier than a bulldog licking piss off a nettle, then it's I'm just not. I just don't want to play it. So there you go. Oh, some people are experiencing lag. Apparently, the best advice I can give is to just refresh the page, and that is apparently what cures it. I as I say, there has been some strange shenanigans with the YouTube chat. I don't know if YouTube are doing kind of upgrades or maintenance or what have you. But it's fine everywhere else apparently. And somebody's asking about the charity shop Telecaster. The buffering is bad here in Manchester. I'm sorry to hear about that, mate. It is just one of those things. YouTube and IT and technology just doing what technology does. But yeah, the charity shop Telecaster is that one in the middle there, and everyone thinks because it's on the back wall that it's got a Paisley pickguard. It doesn't have a Paisley pickguard. It has a pickguard made of old English beer labels. I haven't played this guitar in ages. I'm thinking there may be more renovations to do on this guitar. I always say I don't like relic guitars, and then people point this out and say, well, you've got a relic guitar there. It's not a relic guitar. This is just my cack-handed attempt at a refinish that went not according to plan, but it does give it a certain kind of charm. I've got the action jacked up way up high on this at the moment because it's got a beautiful tone for slide. Yeah, we shall. I shall have to get this out a little bit more often. And there we go. Anyway, the other charity shop, Telly John, I think you said that the wife made that pickguard. That's the same guitar, mate. That is exactly the same guitar. It's had a new neck because I don't like 21 fret necks. I prefer 22 fret necks, so I put a new 22 fret neck on it and decided, well, let's give it a refinish. Let's do it. That finish there is my cack-handed attempt at a sunburst, and then I routed it with a chisel and a drill and kind of all kinds of improper and inappropriate implements to put a P90 in the neck position, and she made that pickguard as well. Out of as I say, old beer bottle labels. Jay How Young is saying, Trigger's broom comes to mind. Yes, indeed. Now I get a glimpse of the full scale of your size. Yes, I'm a big lad. I'm 5'19". In old money. I don't know what that is in metric, but 6'7", and it's a bugger trying to get trousers to fit because it's just they don't make trousers for a chap with my leg dimensions. Let's have a look. Cal B is saying, I stained the DIY with Saman water-based stain, turned out great. Yep. And I used like a Ron-Seal kind of liquid wax. It didn't turn out great, but it as I say, the guitar cost me 25 quid from a charity shop. So even if I kind of completely knackered it, it's not the end of the world, is it? Michael Purcell is saying, how about a slide guitar course, John? There is one up there already. If you go up on Udemy, or on my website, rather, johnrobsonmusic.co.uk, you'll find a link to my slide course. Excuse me, my phone is just pinging here. What's going on? Okay, yes. Okay, just something that I have to deal with after the... yes, indeed, Flake, something I have to deal with after the live stream. Peter Shields, what are you saying there, mate? Let's have a look at that. If you're talking about the Harley Benton Fusion Tea HH Roasted FNT, I have one and will bring it with me in October to leave it with you for a while to try out. Well, that's very, very generous of you, mate. Thank you so much. I've got to tell you, right, there is... I'm absolutely bowled over and blown away and astounded and astonished in equal measure by people's generosity. I've got 3 guitars in here at the moment. Well, one has just left yesterday, actually. But there was the Patrick Eggle that I said I was curious about, and a very kind chap called Sean loaned me a Patrick Eggle. He's left me another guitar that I'm going to be doing a bit of a couple of videos about in the near future. And Peter Shields, it's like people are incredibly generous to sort of just come here to see me, to say there's a guitar, use it in some of your videos, and it's just incredibly generous of everybody who's done that, or kind of thought about doing, or even offered, and we haven't been able to kind of make the logistics work. It is just such a humbling thing that you'll lend me a guitar. At the end of the day, I'm just a bloke you watch on YouTube. You've probably got a good idea of what sort of person I am, but you don't really know me, and it's humbling that that you'll do that. So thank you to each and every one of you who've kind of been generous enough to kind of leave your pride and joy of a guitar with me. It really does, I can't tell you how grateful I am. Thank you. Dalius is saying, "What's the weather like up there?" It's been a bit. Well, it's been more to my liking today. It's been overcast, drizzly, and a comfortable temperature. As I said earlier, I don't deal well with the heat. It's all of the blubber. It's maybe in the Arctic, this would come in useful, but when we've been getting that ridiculous Mediterranean weather, I suffer. I really do. It makes me sweaty and scratchy and headachy and grumpy, which isn't usually in my nature to be grumpy. I'll have you know. Oh, thank you, Jay Ao Young. You are a gentleman, sir. Thank you so much. There is a fridge full of it, and I will be. I've got a curry to go and sort out because I did a big batch cook last week. My own homemade chicken curry. It's got a nice kick to it. So I've got a batch cook to go and I've got a batch of that to go and warm up and do the rice and everything later, and poppadoms and naan breads and all that sort of stuff. So I will be quaffing the 1664. Thank you so much, mate. You're a gentleman. Maria Davies is saying, "Love the video you posted on chords from 3 keys to produce a chord progression. Very interesting, genius." It is a genius idea, and I wish I could say it was my idea, but it isn't. It's something that I picked up from, probably ABBA and ELO songs, and they got it from the Beatles and stuff. I have got another video in the pipeline about about chord sequencing sort of stuff, because it seems to be I've got about half a dozen viewers' comments or viewers' questions rather, about that particular topic. So I'm probably going to roll a few of them into one. Oh, thank you, Peter Shields. You're a gentleman, sir. Let's have a look. What's in the utterly butterly tub behind you, John? It's not utterly butterly. This is beautifully butterly. This is Aldi's kind of own margarine spread. It's in no way trying to copy utterly butterly. What's in there? A Sharpie, a pair of string clippers, wire strippers, and the rest of it is just assorted screws and Allen keys and kind of bits of stuff. It's that container that everyone has somewhere in their house for the well, I can't think of anywhere else to put it. Let's just chuck it in there. It might come in useful one day. That's my version of that. Let's have a look, see what else we've got to talk about in the dying seconds or dying minutes of the game. Let's have a look. Johnny Love is saying, "Relicing is genius marketing. If your guitar gets any bumps or scratches when being shipped to you from the shop, you'd never know." Lol. Yeah, I mean, in the 90s, when I think wasn't it Fender who delivered some guitars to Keith Richards, and he said they just look too new. Can you beat them up a bit? And and it got them thinking. Okay, because I mean, so you can thank Keith Richards for the whole relicing thing, apparently. But I was reading about it in Guitarist magazine, and even then, it was probably 95, 96 or about then. I'm thinking, has the world gone mad? I don't get relic guitars. That said, everybody keeps I'm going back to the Eastman thing again. If everybody keeps saying about how much nicer the antique varnish finish is on the SB59s are, and it's so I don't know. I would have to try one first, but there's just something contrived and phony about it that I remain to be convinced. It's like I'm desperate, and it has been confirmed, by the way, that Epiphone are bringing out, you probably know this already, a greeny Gary Moore Les Paul. And, the pull of that one is strong as well. And if that one comes out round about the same time as I've got some kind of Eastman money, it might be a close run thing, but again, I just hope they don't give it the sort of phony aging. It is just something that it just seems a bit forged and phony to me. So there you go. I understand opinions vary, but it's just not my thing. That Epi will be near 2,000. Well, okay, right. Well, that's that one off the table then. I ain't paying Gibson money for an Epiphone. I'm sorry, I'm just not. If you have that on good authority, Steve, then I could not bring myself to pay that kind of money for an Epiphone, because it's Epiphone is supposedly the these days the Gibson budget brand, and if you I thought those V's and Explorers that Epiphone came out with, the Carina ones, when they breached the grand, I thought they were jumping the shark then. But if the Gary Moore one is going to be thick end of $2,000, then yeah, that's off the radar, I'm afraid. Avron Gaunt is saying, I've got one of those Harley Benton Mosrites. Yes, it's gloriously ugly, and it's got a pair of P90s that'll kill your neighbour's lawn, as Lenny would say. Fits my personality. Well, as I was saying earlier, mate, these things are all subjective. It's beauty and ugliness is in the eye of the beholder. But it's not for me, shall we say. Japan American Epiphones are top dollar. Yes, indeed, they are. It's just I would object to paying a premium for an Epiphone Les Paul. Just in the full knowledge that they're only charging that money because they can, and it's just not my cup of tea, really. I would feel a little bit. It would leave a sour taste for me. So there you go. Yeah. I'm a 640 saying Epiphones used to be affordable. They still are, but what they're doing is my Area Pro 2 fell off the permanent marker. Fair enough. Sorry, I clicked on that by mistake. What they're doing with Epiphone is they're trying to kind of make it into a prestige brand, and for me that kind of you're either a kind of a mid-price brand or you're a prestige brand. You can't have it both ways. Strangely, if they made the same guitar and put the Gibson logo on the headstock, and in the same way that Fender do, in the same way that Fender have like the USA guitars and the Mexican guitars, it's that doesn't kind of jar so much with me, but there's just, I can't really express it really, but there is just something about paying that kind of money for an Epiphone that I think I would blanch at. And on that note, chaps, I've got a curry to go and sort out, so I'm going to wrap things up there. Thank you once again, everyone, for turning up and watching a fat, bald northern lad talk absolute bollocks for an hour on a Friday. whilst drinking beer. It's been fun. I love doing this. It's the highlight of my week. I hope you believe that, because it's true. And I'll keep on doing it till you're sick of me. But for now, time, gentlemen, please.